9x9 apartment made out of wood underneath this bridge. When we found him with 3 appliances, a microwave oven, a 19-inch TV, and a Game Boy. When the bridges would open like this in the center, ding, 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 he had all of his appliances tethered down. He stole all of his electricity from the bridge houses. Question is, how did he get caught? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very true story. I am not making it up. You can even Google it. It was around the Super Bowl, and he would decide to throw himself a Super Bowl party. He invited a few of his friends, and he placed a few bets with them, lost the bets, and he couldn't pay up. They called the cops on him. True story, he lived there for about 3 years. Riverviews 1 and 2 are to your right, completed by James DeStefano back in 2001 and 2006. A nice 1-bedroom here will cost you about $2.5 million. A townhome it'll run you about $5 to $8 million. Penthouse, 2 floors, comes with his own squash court, basketball court, 3 enormous fish tanks, and other wonderful amenities. Is listed at about $13.8 million. Looking to the top of the building, can anyone guess who they're paying homage to? Statue of Liberty is correct. Centennial Fountain is to our right. Don't miss the pyramid-like structure and eye level here. Has the eye in its center. When the fountain is turned on, that eye, it shoots off a 90-foot arc of water every hour on the hour for about 5 minutes over the Chicago River. It's designed by architect Dirk Lohan, grandson of Mies van der Rohe. But this green glass building to our right, this is the Sheraton Hotel, completed by Solomon Cornwell and Benz back in 1992. 4th largest hotel here in the city of Chicago. One of many buildings that has that green glass, paying homage to the color of the river. This is where all of the presidents stay when they are visiting the city of Chicago. It's most easily blocked off for public access. It's also home to a ballroom that's about 40,000 square feet. Essentially, that's the size of a football field, can host a party of about 4,000 people here. As we're clearing the building, you'll look in front of the boat to your soft right, finding the building that has an onion-shaped dome on its top. That is the Hotel Intercontinental, completed by architect Walter Auslager back in 1924. When the building first opened, it was home to the Medina Men's Club. The famous Olympian used to work out or train here, Johnny Weissmuller, the first Tarzan. Looking to the right of the onion-shaped dome after passing the bridge, you will find a structure that's known as a parapet. We were going to use it to load and offload airships, and then the Hindenburg happened. But if you've ever visited Rockefeller Center in New York City, directly to our right, you will find the centerpiece. This is our NBC Tower, completed by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. This green glass building to our right is the Gleacher Center, University of Chicago's downtown campus, also completed by architect Dirk Lohan. This building is home to 27 classrooms, all that we cannot see. It's because they are all behind the stone walls on the west side of the building. When we asked architect Dirk Lohan why he built the building this way, he replied, students should not be gazing outside the windows, they should be inside studying and learning. He may have been onto something because the school, it's produced over 90 Nobel Prize winners, second only to Harvard. You have an Apple iPhone, feel free to take your phone down, take a photo of the Apple Store coming up to our right, completed by British architect, his name's Sir Norman Foster. Now this Apple Store is conveniently located in a place where you can buy your Apple phone and drop it in the river the same day. Looking directly behind it, you will find the Chicago Tribune building, completed by Raymond Hood and John Meade Howell back in 1924. Part of a contest to see who can build the most beautiful office building. There are over 250 entries from many different countries from around the world. This building here won. The Chicago Tribune actually left the building about 2 years ago, and it's now being converted into residences. But after clearing the bridge, ladies and gentlemen, we will find the second tallest building here in the city of Chicago, Trump International Hotel and Tower, completed by architect Adrian Smith back in 2009. The building stands at 1,362 feet tall, home to 472 condominiums, a 5-star restaurant, and a 5-star hotel. If anyone here has ever heard of the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, that building stands at 2,720. Architect Adrian Smith, he designed both of the buildings. Trump Towers, it needed over 16,000 truckloads of concrete for it to begin. If anyone here has ever seen the film The Dark Knight, and you remember that ending fight scene with the Joker in the building that is still being constructed, it's happening in Trump Towers. Black box structure after the bridge. This is AMA Plaza, formerly known as the IBM building. Completed by a German architect back in 1971. His name, Mies van der Rohe. The building is completed in his international style of architecture. He believed that there should be zero ornamentation alongside his buildings. His philosophy, less is more. But if you have your cameras out, in front of us you'll find the two most photographed buildings in the city of Chicago. This is Marina City, or known by their nicknames, the Corn Cobs of the Midwest. There should be none in architecture. We are not going to find any right angles in the two buildings here. When Bertrand Goldberg was going to construct these two buildings, Mies van der Rohe called him and he asked, "Are you seriously going to put these two buildings up next to mine?" He replied, "Yes," and this was the last they ever spoke to each other. When you walk into your apartment here, it is extremely narrow, widens as you walk throughout the apartment, shaped sort of like a piece of pie or pizza. Each floor connected to a central stem, think of petals on a flower. When the buildings first opened, they were thought to be a city, even the private marina that we just passed. If you have ever seen the films, The Blues Brothers, and Steve McQueen's last film, The Hunter, they were filmed there. That 1979 Pontiac was driven off the 17th floor into the Chicago River. Speaking of the river, I know a lot of people typically tend to think that this river is green due to the fact that we died on St. Patrick's Day. This is not the case. The Chicago River is green because this is a clay-based river and it mixes with the lake water and algae. When dyeing the river green on St. Patrick's Day, we use 40 pounds of vegetable dye. Turns the river a bright Kelly green. The color of the dye happens to be orange and it lasts about 3 or 4 days. The red brick building to your right is the Reed Murdoch Center, completed by George Nimitz back in 1914. The building, it is sheathed in that red brick. At the top, you'll find some terracotta ornamentations of wheat. If you are looking at the building completely, it does look asymmetrical. Expansion of the LaSalle Street Bridge. If there are any engineers on board, the next building, it's an engineering masterpiece. This is 300 North LaSalle, completed by Picard and Chilton back in 2009. Like winning an Academy Award for a building. It also has a green roof, which mitigates rainfall, has plants, trees, and vegetations. Chicago has more green buildings than any other city in the United States. But you cannot miss the massive structure after the bridge here. This is our merchandise mark, completed back in 1931 by Grant Anderson Ropes and White. The building is designed in that Art Deco style of architecture. Art Deco buildings typically have the geometrical ornamentations, vertical lines working your eyes up, and setbacks at the top. This was the largest concrete structure in the world when it opened. Today it is only second to the Pentagon. The building sits on 5 city blocks. It is 4.25 million square feet of space. Up into the year 1996, the building had its own zip code. It was originally used to consolidate 14 of Marshall Field's warehouses, now home to over 500 showrooms for accessory inventory and furniture wholesale. The building, it sold to the kids, sold the building for $575 million. They would decide to keep the land off it to our right here. This is known as Wolf Point, and they are developing it at the moment. They have Wolf Point East already completed. It is 750 feet tall. Wolf Point West has also already been completed. It's behind the building that's being constructed. It's 570 feet tall. Salesforce, it will be the last of the 3 buildings at 800 feet tall. Wolf Point's also a very historic. This is where we have our first drugstore, church, bridge across the Chicago River, and tavern. It's also where we get our name, Chicago. The locals, they were in a tavern and they recently heard the natives using Chicago. They just did not know that that translated into wild smelly onions. The white building to our right is Residence at River Bend, completed by James DeStefano back in 2001. He put every apartment and townhome on the east side of the building because he wanted everyone there to have an unobstructed view down the main branch of the river. Directly to our right, we've got River Point. Opened 4 years ago in 2017. It's another LEED certified building, certified gold. It's made of about 55% recycled materials. But you may have noticed that the next building looks like it's been built upside down. This is 150 North Riverside, completed by Getcha Partners. The building does get wider as it goes to the top. There's also something very unique at the top of the building that we cannot see. It is something known as a mass damper system. Essentially, it's a giant tank containing about 160,000 when it wants to be blown by the wind. You see, the building is built like a tuning fork. So when it wants to be blown east by the wind, 160,000 gallons of water goes to the west end of the building. Off the sun, I want to draw your attention to the 5 vertical beams that are on the east side of that lower half here. Those keeping that east side structurally supported. Now the building to our right here, that's the Civic Opera Building, completed by Grant Anderson Post and White back in the 1930s, outside in a very beautiful interior Art Deco lobby. But we are now at the base of one of the newest buildings here in the city of Chicago, the Bank of America building, completed by the same architecture firm who designed 150 North Riverside here, the upside down building. You'll notice that they both have the pretty narrow bases. This one has the 3 tridents, it's 40 stories, and it also features what is known as a pocket park. But after clearing the bridge, ladies and gentlemen, we will find a pretty important piece of history off into the right side of the boat. And no, I am not talking about the Starbucks. I'm talking about the Redford Building. This is the Great Lakes Building, completed by Oliver Gross in the year 1912. Second building on your tour, not as important as the piece of land that it's on. It's because on the other side of this Great Lakes Building in the year 1860, there is a temporary structure known as the Wigwam. And in that Wigwam in 1860, we held the Republican National Convention. And at the time, an unknown candidate was nominated for president, Abraham Lincoln. This lets you know that they want to maximize the space and that this will be a commercial building. Typically, when you see a building that's being constructed and they're using a lot of concrete, it will be a residential building. We're finding the terminus of the Riverwalk to our right. Depending on where you are, this is the start or finish of our Riverwalk. You can now walk 1.3 miles all the way to our lakefront uninterrupted. The Green Glass Building, 333 West Wacker Drive, completed by Cole, Pedersen, and Fox. This building was voted the most beautiful building alongside the Chicago River. Notice how the building bends with the natural bend of the river. That's known as contextualism, when a building adapts to the natural side of topography that it is on. That glass it bends for about 365 feet. It's a 36-story building. If anyone here has ever seen the film Ferris